Today we're going to be bringing you 5 of my top favorite bright jeans. A few weeks ago I gave you my top 5 dark jeans, so I thought it only fitting to do the bright side this time. While the dark side of genetics have become my favorite when it comes to color morphs, I started off liking just purely bright snakes. And to be honest, the reason I like dark morphs is because of the contrast it brings when working with bright morphs. But the brighter side of ball pythons will always be very popular because of how vibrant and eye-catching they are. These will be in no particular order in terms of my favorite, so without any further delay, let's get right into it. At number 5 would be the banana morph. Banana is obviously one of the most popular and iconic ball python morphs that there is. On top of bringing in nice looking yellows and bright oranges, it really flirts with a lot of these lavenders just by itself. So it's no wonder that when the banana morph came out that it just took the reptile world by storm. It's often said that banana ball pythons went upwards to as much as $50,000 when they first came out. Nowadays, you're gonna get them for much less, into the hundreds, and maybe if you're lucky, even less in some cases. Couple fun facts about banana is that it's the same as coral glow, so you can interchangeably use them. It'll create a super, and it is also the only gene that is attached to the sex chromosome of the snake. But there's a reason why it's never going to go away. It is always going to be some of the more popular ones out there. Look no further than this banana clown right here. Whether it's to the head, to the dorsal stripe of it, it's insane. I absolutely love how it just redistributes the colors and brings in a lot more of this nice oranging, barbed wiring itself all down the dorsal of the animal. And in between that, the background colors, again, that beautiful lavender. Another great and simple combo would be banana pied. A lot of people don't know this about pied, but it also does give a little bit more vibrance to the colors of the snake. It doesn't just affect the pattern. Although, of course, the pattern is definitely where it's all at with pied, because you have a lot of awesome contrast. You have the great color of the snake coming in. It definitely does some wonky stuff to the pattern, just like with a normal pied, but instead swapping that color palette out. And then, of course, you have the white blotches coming in and breaking it up, adding a great amount of contrast. But there's so much more you can do with this bright gene, including combining it with something like blackhead, which is a dark gene, just like with this blackhead, red stripe, yellow belly, phantom, banana clown. Now that's a lot of words to say, but they all work together very well in creating this outstanding looking animal. Now you have that orange just going perfectly down the dorsal and fading as it reaches the pattern on either side of the snake just so perfectly. The pattern itself is all smushed into just one almost consistent look all the way down it and bordered with a nice lavender. Another really great example of a dark gene working well with banana would be this black pastel banana red stripe odium. Now I'm not incredibly familiar with odium, but I am very familiar with the fact that this snake looks outstanding. I love the ghostly pattern behind it, flirting with these shadowy type looks, almost like the pattern is like a photo negative. It's just incredible. In contrast, however, to the dorsal stripe, which is a very bright yellow. You can see hints of orange peeking through within that pattern as well, even though it's very ghostly. I think that ghostly pattern is really enhanced by those subtle oranges. It's there enough to just really pop and show itself to you, so it's not faded and lost into the background of the snake. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier though, and you see it very evident here, are the black dots. Banana, true to its name, as it gets older, ripens, and they get these little black dots. It's distinct, it's unique. I absolutely love it. Another great, beautiful animal with an absolutely stunning look to itself would be this orange dream banana cypress yellow belly spider clown. Every gene in here can brighten in some way, shape, or form, but yet with that you haven't lost the plot. It hasn't brightened so much that it washes it out. It's still a beautiful contrast in the pattern, the webbing that has now been turned to a crisp, vibrant orange. Behind it is a very creamy, yellowy type color. The head is beautiful, everything else is very contrasted. Another one that's incredible would be the banana sunsets. I think this is an absolutely incredible combo, and I'm surprised it honestly took that long for people to even make it within the Sunset project. Sunset for a while was accused of being a gene that browns out, and some people didn't really care for it, and to each their own, of course, but I think Sunset is outstanding when worked into the right things, and banana is one of those right things. They hold an amazing color to them, whether they're babies or as they age, and it's quite frankly a pretty simple combo to make. It is a recessive and one incomplete dominant gene. Another great example of contrast in terms of working this light gene into dark dark jeans would be this Orange Dream Black Pastel Banana Cypress from Ozzy Boyd. And there's a lot of contrast here. It has a very shadowy background and base to it. The pattern itself has become completely different, squishing into an alternative creamy type color. Although on one side of it, it kind of has some oranges bleeding into it. And of course, the dorsal is just a very vibrant orange as well. So it just goes to show you again how much contrast you can work even with dark jeans. And that's the biggest thing. These bright jeans by themselves are great, they're beautiful, but when contrasted with a dark jean, it really makes the difference. And then finally ending it off on one that's absolutely incredible. I love showing this picture off, would be this Banana Mardi Gras. It really goes to show you the outstanding potential that you can do with some of these genetics. A Mardi Gras, by the way, is a freeway, which is a combination of yellow belly and asphalt, and enchi. Put banana on top of that, and this is the sort of stuff that you were looking to get. It quite literally looks like fire on the sides of it. Then it kind of bleeds out all the color and it has a background of white. You have a very dark orange, like a blood red orange, around every single yellow mark within the dorsal pattern, which of course is iconic for the freeway combination. Just an absolutely incredible snake. It really just goes to show you how timeless the banana morph is and always will be. At number 4 would be the Lavender Albino Morph. While I feel like you could put a lot of different albino type morphs in here, there are far more examples of how bright you can make an animal with Lavender Albino. Starting off again with a dark morph combination with this blackhead dreamsicle ball python. Dreamsicles are iconic. It is the combination of pied and Lavender Albino. It has traditionally created one of the most intensely bright snakes that has enough contrast with the breaking of the whites coming in between. It really just absolutely catches your eye. And believe it or not, when you put blackhead with lavender, you are getting some of the most vibrant and beautiful animals that are on the bright side of things in ball pythons. The bright oranges, crazy pattern that pied brings in, contrast so well. And what's so cool about them is as they age, the whites, not from the pied anyway, you see the blotch right there? That's the pied blotch. These whites in between is what I'm calling your attention to. These, in traditional albinos, typically fade into a two-tone yellow, which yellow on yellow, while still a beautiful snake, doesn't contrast as well as what the Lavender Albino does. And that one, as it ages, bleeds in a more lavender color, hence the name. Now, lavender on this brighter orange contrasts incredibly well, and it is a beautiful animal. You can definitely tell why they call them dreamsicles after the obviously iconic popsicles. Another great combo here would be this Grail combo. And a Grail is the combination of clown and Lavender Albino. This one obviously has a little bit more going for it in that it is an enchi blade. Blade is very similar to enchi, so you can definitely see why this might look very similar to a super enchi. It is also a spot nose and a leopard, so it is also a Batman, which creates an absolutely cool and iconic look to it. The head pattern is absolutely incredible. A very reduced pattern, obviously, going down it with just a few spots. But then as you get slightly down, about maybe a third to the snake, you start to get the dorsal pattern coming in. First blotching itself and then kind of becoming a straight stripe, which comes to a faded orange onto it, bordered by more of a vibrant orange. Looking at next what is called the Holy Grail, which is a triple recessive combo of clown, Lavender Albino, and pied. A absolutely beautiful animal, so much contrast, and they age so well. Clown and pied obviously are an iconic combo together, so now just put that beautiful coloring into it all, and you've just got an absolutely beautiful animal. Further in the case for it being one of the best brightening combos is this boy from Canova, this enchi yellow belly leopard Lavender Albino. You can already see some of the pinkish type hues that come in bleeding into the coloring here. In these particular combos, the bladed head, the contrast in between the yellowish orange and these whites, which are just ever so slightly a different hue of pink kind of going through them, which is absolutely gorgeous. Another Canova one here would be this blackhead yellow belly confusion spot nose lavender, and you're getting some of the most crazy stuff when you're looking at these next ones. Very stark white background to it. The whites seem to bleed in a little bit more than when you look at the standard combos here. As you can see here, there's more pattern. Not that there isn't a pattern here, but there's definitely more whites coming into the background, and they're more vibrantly white, a stark white on top of these nice oranges. You can see some craziness here, like with this, the way that its pattern doesn't actually have a traditional pattern like what we're looking at here. It's more like someone hit it with a bit of spray can or something like that. It's insane. Finally, one of the most intense examples I can show you of a bright snake. Another one from Canova would be this super enchi blackhead yellow belly lavender. Remember, there are no double recessives for these last ones I think I showed you. Some hets in there, sure, but no visuals. And this one here might be one of the brightest animals. I don't know why it gives me the Chester cat vibe vibes. And these are pink. And of course, the sherbet orange type background. You have basically orange on pink, and not a normal orange either, like a creamy sherbet type orange. These are not two colors you see together in any snake, much less in ball python. So it is a very stark and beautiful thing. Lavender albino, still to this day, is one of the absolute leading bright morphs that you can work. At number 3 would be the hypo morph. Hypo, sometimes called ghost, is a gene that I feel has, within the last few years, has come into a major resurgence. When I first started, I was often told that people didn't like it because it made the snake look like it was in shed. And while I can somewhat see where they're coming from, I disagree wholeheartedly. Sheds dull your snake, and this brightens it, almost like it is exuding some sort of light from within it. Seeing it in some combos here, like this super pastel, super chocolate, desert ghost hypo. This one is pretty intense, being that it is 2 supers and 2 recessives on top of it. And obviously chocolate, especially super chocolate, is a darker type morph. Kind of brings in and flirts with some purpley type feels to it. Crazy what this combo has done with the pattern. You have a very light, bright head, but then the rest of the body is very shadowed. Not dark, really, because underneath that is white. And whenever you're getting that shadowy type look, it's because on the same scale is the presence of both black and white. It's very delicate balance, and combos like this and more are why I love ball python morphs and breeding them so much. Another great combination would be this pastel ultramel clown hypo. As you can see right there, it has that nickname ghost coming right in. Everything is so perfect about this from every single morph that it's hitting on. The perfect head from the clown, just creating this almost pyramid type look of dots going through it with this lavendery type background. Again, just flirting with this purplish type look. But in between the purples, it is bleeding this nice, beautiful orange. And of course, the nice and very solid yellows, just going to show you how great ultramel or any of these T+ albino genes work with clown and ghost, and even with pastel coming in there as well. Some people don't like pastel when it comes to clown. As you can see, this one is very, very nice. Another one that really goes to show you how bright and ghostly, that's where it gets its original name from, that hypo can really be, with this yellow belly hypo desert ghost clown. Again, you're going to see a lot of this where hypo and desert ghost are kind of paired together because they work together, cleaning it up while brightening it up at the same exact time. When you do stuff like that, you create incredible contrast, because when the patterns meet each other, they don't really bleed into one another. You have a very nice vibrant orange, but then the background, the coloring in between is very shaded and shadowy, but the shadow isn't just fading into a white in this point. It almost has like this bluish or purplish type hue that then kind of fades into this shadowy type orange. Another great combination when you're talking about hypo would be the super mandarin hypo. For a while, people thought that this was the super mandarin, and of course you find out that it was tagged with hypo all along, which makes complete sense. It is one of the more tangy oranges in a snake that you can get. We were lucky enough to add mandarin into our collection, but you can see kind of why people would want to strive for this and how much more there is to unlock when it comes to this particular combination. Our second to last example here would be this super orange dream enchi hypo pied. Another great combination with hypo and pied. Whenever you get super orange dream in there, obviously you're going to really pop that orange type color, and enchi, you're just adding more fuel to the fire in terms of how beautiful that's going to look. The saddles really aren't bordered with anything in these cases. It's just a orange blotch that just moves throughout the snake. You do have a bit of a dorsal pattern kind of going through it, but very faded and inconsistent, with those whites just kind of creeping up in between to provide the contrast. And to finish out hypo would be this hypo DG clown pied, a quadruple recessive, and again goes to show you the great combination between 2 great genetics. You take clown pied, which is an iconic combo, you take hypo DG, which is an iconic combo. Sometimes these genes don't work together very well, but they very much do so here. Again, you almost have 2 patterns layered on top of each other here. At least it gives the illusion of that because of the nice orange that just runs through the animal. And again, it's not bordered, but then you have the saddles of the pied in between that. So it gives the illusion that you have the white, that you have another pattern layered on underneath of this orange, and then you have the actual pattern itself of this nice orangey type yellow, which is bordered by this lavender type look. Hypo is very versatile and can be used in anything, and quite frankly, it will improve just about anything you use it with. At number 2 would be the Desert Ghost. Desert Ghost serves to clean up any of the mess within the background of the animal, and in doing so brings a lot of contrast just in brightening the animal, but I think in also how it emboldens the colors that are already there. Since your blacks are going to be a very jet black, since your colors are going to be more bold, that definitely gives a brightening type look and creates a great amount of contrast. Look no further than a simple combination of a pastel Desert Ghost. Pastel by itself, they definitely brown out as they age. However, as you can see here, this one has about about 400 grams on it, which means it does have some age to it. It should be losing some of its luster by now, but it isn't. It is very vibrant, it is very beautiful, it is very creamy, and that is what Desert Ghost does. It keeps animals looking more like they were when they were born. Another wonderful combination would be the Puzzle gene. For whatever reason, when you get Desert Ghost and Puzzle together, it does some very funky things. You get a very bladed type head, but with these kind of crazy looks to it, almost like it's some sort of fossil or something like that. And of course, the coloring itself is very vibrant, and it very much helps when you have an animal with so much going on. That's going to capture and help keep all of that contrast intact, especially as they age. You get some very nice dark coloring in there, contrasted very well with this beautiful yellow. So crazy and cool, because usually it takes clown or something unique to mess with the head. Sometimes Banshee can do that, but there's none of that present. Definitely removes the back end of the eye stripe, which is crazy and unique. An incredible example, to be certain. One that I think we might have shown off in our last one would be this Black Pastel Hypo DG clown. Maybe we didn't show this one, but it's very similar to the ones we were showing when we were talking about Hypo. Again, showing you why these two make such a great combination, giving it a ghostly type look to it while cleaning it up and emboldening some of the colors, almost like it's just underneath the surface, about ready to burst with some orange color. Another great one that I might have shown in our last one would be this Yellow Belly Hypo DG Pied Het Clown. Another one, but with pied this time, that shows you how much craziness you can get there. Look how much the pattern is affected here, how blown it up it is in this section. That is awesome, because whenever you have pattern that's blowing up like that, you have more opportunity for crazy interactions, for colors to pop, as the saddles, especially in pied, kind of meet each other, and Desert Ghost is going to serve to help clean that up and make that even more vibrant and keep it that way as it ages, while it tag teams with the Hypo gene there to just create this awesome type look. Yellow Belly is probably the catalyst for what's creating such a crazy look, other than the pied itself obviously here, but it is absolutely incredible. Another great one here from Canova would be this Spot Nose Desert Ghost Genetic Stripe Clown, otherwise known as the Kiki Clown, the combination of the genetic stripe and the clown. Lots of awesome contrast. The Kiki Clown obviously creates all of this crazy bladed type looks that really don't have any consistency to them, just going over the top of the snake in both horizontal ways and vertically over the dorsal of the animal. And each one of them is differing. Some of them are just a type of black, where some of them have some orange in there that are bordered with black. And underneath that, of course, you have a nice creamy yellowy type orange, just emboldened enough to just really catch your eye and have just such great contrast to it. And then one of the most vibrant animals is in the absence of color in and of itself. One of the most striking snakes out there would be the Axanthic Desert Ghost Clown, in this case a VPI Axanthic. You have very stark whites and very jet blacks. It is one of the most eye-catching animals you can see out there, and they age like this. We have been lucky enough to film these and find these either from Canova at the Tinley shows or from Straight Fire Reptiles. It is always a treat to see one of these. It's funny to talk about something that's both light and dark at the same time in the actual conventional sense of black and white. Desert Ghost is absolutely one of the best things that you can work if you want to brighten and clean your animals up. And at number one on this list would be the Lace gene. Now, when you look at it by itself, it's sometimes hard to see, but you can definitely see where it's coming in. It is a little bit of a brighter animal. It's a little bit more clean, and then you can definitely see these peaks of white kind of bursting up. So by itself, it's incredibly subtle, but the combinations you can make with it have created what I think is the most vibrantly bright animal I've ever seen in my entire life, which we will get to. Now, Lace does have a super combo, and the super combo is much more noticeable, as you can see here in this white Lace. That's the nickname for it when you get two copies of the Lace gene. It is a much brighter animal, but yet keeps some of the chaos and dirtiness to the animal. And that might sound bad, but there's a lot of morphs out there that operate on causing chaos. To clean it up would actually subdue what they do so beautifully. As you can see here, there's still a little bit of granulation here. That's not being brought in by anything. It's just the general look of the snake. Where you can definitely see a white lace is this popcorn at the bottom of the snake. And you can kind of see where they're going with that, but it's pretty obvious. It pushes the pattern up, which then changes the pattern, of course, too, kind of squishes it together. You don't really have any of those alien heads for the most part, because the baseline of the snake, right where the sides begin, is now this popcorny type look. Another good combination would be this Fire Russo Lace Clown. You know what a clown looks like, but you have three genes here that brighten an animal up. These are genes that, other than fire, can be very subtle. Russo, so much so that it's very difficult to see by itself. Lace, again, I showed you, it's pretty subtle, and fire kind of brightens the animal up and gives it that frosty type look, but putting Russo and lace, which are pretty subtle, and combining it with fire, one might not think that you can get something this stunning, but you do. Look how much it affects the pattern. Look how much it affects the color. Even the head pattern is pretty wild and intense. The whites that just kind of creep up through the side and then fade into a more shadowy, granulated look that just kind of combines yellows and oranges and blacks within that dorsal now, because again, it pushes it up. And then this chain link that just goes throughout the dorsal of the animal, especially near the back of it. Just absolutely incredible that it does this. Bringing white lace back into the picture with this white lace yellow belly clown. Again, yellow belly is pretty subtle, and clown on that. This one might also be orange dream, but that is an incredible looking animal when you're considering the fact that these subtle type morphs that you should never sleep on, what they do when they put into combinations, and not even like major crazy combos in my opinion. How much intensity that you're getting with these snakes. And then again, look at right there. You can see how it brightens the animal but doesn't clean it in a way that would wipe out some granulation, and you can see that no better than right here. It's very chaotic down here. There's a lot of whites and oranges and blacks just kind of mixed together in this chaotic type look that as it goes more up towards the dorsal cleans itself up, and then that squished pattern kind of comes in there. Lace definitely messes around the belly and then thus causes it to squish up and have a pattern disruption, especially when you get white lace like in this one here. That popcorny type look is then stretched out almost to like a TV static, but bringing color in there. Another great example, and again from Canova, would be this Orange Dream Enchi Fire Yellow Belly Spot Nose Lace Clown. Now that's a lot of genes layered on that clown, but you can definitely see that it gives the vibes of a desert ghost. It's very bright, very creamy, a very chaotic dorsal stripe going throughout it. The pattern itself is wild, almost like vines from a tree, but with oranges and blacks kind of mixed in there, and all on a very creamy background. Again, you can kind of see those whites creeping up, the fact that the sides themselves kind of have this wavy orange type look to them, almost like a exploding fire just behind the snake on an otherwise very bright animal. Here's one with some pretty good contrast to it in this Enchi Yellow Belly Fire Lace Powerball Clown. And a Powerball is a super spot nose, which creates a ridiculously crazy pattern. And a Powerball is a super spot nose. Again, the pattern itself is a very dark brown, but on a creamy type color. The sides are a very granulated orange, just peeking up and suddenly transforming into a very dark brown. Not colors that you see together all that often, quite frankly, which creates a very exotic look among exotic snakes. And then finally, here from Canova, arguably one of the brightest and most vibrant snakes ever, would be the Cypress Yellow Belly Spot Nose Russo Lace Clown. You can see it working so well together with all this. And again, remember that 3 of these genes are relatively subtle. So then you've got Cypress and Spot Nose there, but if you've seen a Cypress Spot Nose clown, it doesn't look like this. The pattern is this very ancient, exotic type look with a creamy type pattern to that now, with a very vibrant sherbet orange undercoat. All this while still having blacks just creeping in there, almost like it's got some charcoal that's been smudged throughout it. One of the most vibrant and bright animals that I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Lace has an incredible amount of potential, and if you aren't working it, I definitely suggest at least giving it a look. And that does it for 5 of the top brightest genes. What are some of your top 5 genes that bring more of a bright complexion to ball pythons? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like this video, you can check out our last video on some of the top dark genes that we love right here.